Hello, welcome to Soulprint Intuitive Tarot. My name is Cindy. Welcome, viewers, subscribers, people who are seeing my channel and sharing it. It is wonderful. Thank you, every one of you. I am truly grateful. So, I have some really smart viewers who ask really good questions. So today is going to be you have a question. And the three that we're going to do in this reading are, why haven't we heard from Rod Rosenstein? Like, why isn't he being kind of pressured to testify? The second one is, why did Emmett Flood leave the White House when he did? And the third question is a really specific sort of, when will Trump be impeached? So I'm going to start at the top. So we're going to focus in on Rosenstein and if and when and how he is going to end up testifying to the multitude of committees who, want his testimony about the Mueller report and probably some other really interesting stuff about what maybe he knew or didn't know, or who asked for what favor or who didn't ask for what favor. So a quick little shuffle, see, okay, and let's bring it down and do a cut. Okay, so Rosenstein and testimony, Rosenstein and testimony, Rosenstein and testimony. So, Rosenstein has spent a long time being part of a group, right? He works and has worked within the structure of group activities, even at the DOJ when he was acting director. The sort of term flew out of my brain. But even then, even though he was sort of top guy, he was still very much in group settings and group activities. So that's kind of how he functions and sees the world. And in many ways, that's sort of where his loyalty shoots to first, if you understand, right? If there's a core group of people, he's going to want to try and be within the group, protect the group, that sort of thing. So what these four cards are literally telling me just right off the bat is that he doesn't feel he can accept a request to testify. He feels that it would be disloyal to not only the Department of Justice, but more, it would be disloyal to Barr because he would be going against sort of Barr's unspoken wishes. And because he was in a position very similar to Barr, he's very sort of empathetic about, how he would have felt if people sort of turned on him. He very much feels trapped, like he's not quite sure. He knows the rules and he knows the law, and he knows that there isn't that much actual wiggle room here in this situation. He's really kind of not looking forward to the retaliation and the attacks and the, pushed to the sidelines kind of behavior that's going to go on when it is announced that indeed he will be sitting for testimony. And he will be. And he's going to tell some stories about things that perhaps we didn't know about or kind of understand. Perhaps it may very well be stories about just exactly how involved the White House has been in trying to manipulate what does and doesn't go on in the Department of Justice, and more importantly, manipulate what will and won't be said. And he wants this thing to move forward, but again, he wants it to move forward in a way that sort of doesn't leave him an option. You know what? This is exactly what is going on with McGahn and Hope Hicks and the whole group of them. The more the White House pushes back and says, you may not, the more these people sort of dig their heels in and go, come on, take it to court, give me a court order that I cannot defy, and then I will come. But, you know, it's almost like looking for cover, right? It's like bodies of investigation, all the committees, it's like you have to make it for me so that there is absolutely no way I could have avoided this. And because, it wasn't that long ago that a simple subpoena would be enough to get anybody to fall into line. But under this wackadoodle administration that is going on down there, those norms have been blasted out of the water. So people are saying, listen, the only cover that I need and that I need to get is a court order. You have to absolutely make it impossible for me not to do this. And then he will do it. And he's going to have an interesting story to tell. But remember that at the bottom of it, he comes from that sort of group mentality. And honestly, that's not a bad thing. And, it really isn't, because if you're going to work in an organization like that, where there are so many sort of ribbons and strings and thread that go into creating the tapestry of what the DOJ is and does, you really need to be of that sort of group mindset. So even when he testifies, it will be truthful. It will be as fulsome as he can make it, but he will also be very, very cautious and careful to sort of not throw any of the people from his department under the bus. And unfortunately, for those of us who really don't like Barr, that includes Barr. He's going to be really mindful of sort of not throwing him under the bus or overtly criticizing him, frankly, or Trump. Okay, there's going to be some real careful wording there. Diplomacy 101 in his answers. There's just really going to be that sense of, trying not to be insulting to anybody. I guess is the easiest way for me to say it. Okay, so we're going to move on to, why did Emmett Flood leave the White House? Oopsie. So let's see what we can see with regards to Emmett Flood and his departure from the White House. Okay, and I'm going to cut. So Emmett Flood. Okay, well, interesting. It was as if he did what he was brought in to do. He was brought in for the exclusive purpose of dealing with the ramifications of the Mueller investigation. His job was to block, divert, slow down, do whatever, make it really, really difficult. And he absolutely has done that. I mean, he has played that role brilliantly. But at this point, it really is sort of like he set the standard, if you will. He set the behavior of, okay, this is how kind of maybe crooked, maybe a little bit disrespectful of rules and norms, maybe, twisting the letter of the law so that it not just kind of crosses the line, but honestly, it's about to dive off a cliff. He set that. Okay, he's like, okay, this is how we're going to do it. And so anybody basically following in his footsteps has the blueprint. there appears to be a fair bit of pressure that he was getting from the women in his life, whether, I don't know, wife, mother, sister, colleague, I don't know. But there were women in whose life who were saying, you know what, listen, you've kind of gotten through this with your reputation relatively unscathed. Get out while the getting's good. Enough is enough. The Mueller report has wrapped. Trump's running around screaming no collusion at anybody who will listen. Get out while the getting's good. So that seems to be it. It's sort of like he did his job. He completed the task he went in there to do. And there seemed to be some outside, or, more closer within his circle, pressure to kind of get him to get out of there and move away. Yeah, move away while things were intact. And, his reputation was still sort of holding. It was kind of like, listen, you took one for the team. You did what needed to be done. Get out of it. Get out of it before it starts to turn. And, as usual, Trump announces it by Twitter because, again, no respect for anybody else's reputation, no respect for anybody else's, dignity even, letting people make their own announcement. That's completely beyond Trump's capacity. So there was worry, he viewed his time in the White House as, he really did see it. I mean, staunch Republican, okay, he really did view it as a feather in his cap. And he spent a lot of time being very mindful of the fact that, he had to be careful because his reputation was literally on the line. He's never, ever going to be testifying anywhere to anybody. I don't believe, I can't see any indication that he will himself get called up to testify because, for the most part, they're just going to screech, attorney-client privilege. And, it's going to be a hard pull to get him to testify. And frankly, I don't get the feeling that it would be very productive. Okay. And the third question that I'm tackling in this group of readings is Trump. Will he be impeached, and when will he be impeached? Okay. Trump and impeachment. Trump and impeachment. Trump and impeachment. Okay. So, as it stands right now, Trump is very much afraid that, he's going to end up, the whole situation is going to end badly. He's running scared and he's afraid. And, this is the thing that, I'm sure any of my viewers have already picked up, is that when Trump is trying to deflect from something that is kind of true or comes too close to hitting the center, he sort of brings it up himself, right? The one that is popping into my head right now is when Melania was in the hospital, whenever that was, a little ways back, and she was there for a couple of weeks. And, kind of the story didn't make a whole lot of sense about why she was in there, and there was a lot of rumors and whatever. And Trump comes bouncing out onto the White House lawn and says, well, it's not like she got a facelift, Ding, 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 red lights, come on. And so the fact that he keeps mentioning impeachment is a tell. It's not I'm goading them, or it's not. He's just scared. So whatever's floating around in that brain comes shooting out his mouth. And so the more often he mentions it, the more you get a read on just how unnerved he is by the whole prospect. So, you know, he's greedy. Ultimately, he's going to be motivated to leave the office by money. It's going to be family money, his money, security deals coming in from those people who the United States views as perhaps not the best allies or indeed enemies of the country. There's going to be deals that he's negotiating, that he's trying to make come to fruition, whether it is with the Saudis or, the Chinese or the Japanese or the UAE. He's going to be motivated ultimately to leave office because he feels that he's going to lose too much money if he stays. I think he's starting to realize that while he's in the White House, yep, he can monetize the presidency to a certain extent, but boy, when he leaves it, he can really, put the pedal to the metal. And that's really going to ultimately be what motivates him. There is a sense of, his being delusional a little bit. Okay, well, that's not any surprise. And there is this sense that he's going to retreat. In answer to the actual question, okay, this answer is probably going to disappoint a few of you. But as of right now, energetically, it really doesn't look like he's going to be impeached. What I do see is investigations that move it forward and let the secrets come out. Okay, that which was hidden is going to become public. It's going to be in the light. But at this point, I see two sort of paths for Trump leaving the White House. One is, I need to get out because I need to, protect my money. I need to monetize that. And that's where you get the whole, I've done more in 4 years than any president has done in 8, and so therefore I'm done. That sort of aspect. The other side of it is I really feel at this point that we're looking at the impeachment investigation starting. I believe that they are going to start late summer or very early September, because that is going to give Nancy Pelosi and the Dems, I don't know, like 8 weeks, 6, 7, 8 weeks to continue to pump up those numbers and pump up those numbers of the number of Democrats calling for impeachment, so that when they come back in at the beginning of the fall session, it's going to be, I cannot block it anymore. This is not political. The country is demanding that we start the impeachment investigation, and that's what we are going to do. So cover kind of for a lot of people. But that really is the strategy that seems to it's like her strategy of dragging it out and that constant drip, drip, drip. And his sort of leaving of, I've done more than any president. They kind of end up kind of intertwining, don't they? Because once the investigations start and that news gets worse every day and more secrets come out and there's more talk about it, it's going to start really, really weighing heavily on him in terms of figuring out how to get out. So for right now, don't hate me for saying, don't shoot the messenger here. But at this point, it looks like impeachment investigations will start late summer, early September. And they are going to drag out to a point or get uncomfortable enough that he will announce his intention to not run again. And somebody should tell me, you guys in the United States, the rules probably better than I do. What happens to all that money that Trump raised for his re-election campaign if he decides to not run for re-election in any significant way? Because let's face it, there's a lot of hoopla right now. I know there's some conventions going on, but really and truly, come on. We just celebrated the first day of summer in the Northern Hemisphere here, and people want to enjoy their summer. So I think during the months of July and August, you're going to kind of see things just quieting down. Not a lot, because it's Trump and he's an idiot and he can't help himself. He needs to be in the news all the time. But it's sort of like people are being a little distracted right now. They want to go on vacation. They want to, go to Disneyland, have barbecues, go to parades, do whatever, summertime activities people enjoy and want to do. So I really feel like it's almost this is sort of like the calm before the storm, right? And come September, when everybody kind of kicks back to gear and gets back to work, they're going to be, okay, you know what? It's time to take this on and start getting real serious about this. So, thank you, viewers, for your brilliant and insightful questions. I appreciate them, and I enjoy reading your comments. The likes and the subscriptions are just amazing to me, so I thank you very, very much for that. For now, take care, be well, and I'll see you really soon. Bye.